Welcome back. We are at Poetry Lockdown Day 100 um, special, right? More than 3 months. If you've been tuning in, you've been sharing these poems with me, and I really, really appreciate it. I actually want to start this lockdown out with a quote from a poet that I've actually featured on here, Patrick Rosal. He had that terrific ode to his brothers, the baseball poem. He wrote this on Twitter, and I feel like it really speaks to what I've been trying to do with this whole project. He said, "You don't have to be a poet, novelist, essayist, etc. to be a literary maker. Being a good reader is a creative act. What you're making is meaning and collaboratively so. There's a lot of emphasis on creative writing, but not on creative reading. That is just as transformative." I love that, and I hope that this series has inspired you to do some of that creative, transformative reading. And I hope I haven't at all given the impression that like I have the authoritative or right way to read these poems, because that's far from it. What I've really been trying to do is just introduce and share my enthusiasm and passion for poems, and hopefully some of that's caught on for you. I also want to give a big shout out to a couple of individuals. Um, Father Joseph Brown, you've really given me courage to continue on with this with your encouraging notes. Deborah Keenan, my mentor, I've really appreciated you sharing these poems and also just encouraging me with some of the your insights in some of the poems that I've selected. David Dalt, my old friend from Chicago. Love that you've always taken it upon yourself to share these on Facebook. And so many of you for just comments and notes, things like that. It really makes a difference. Builds up the community. So I really appreciate that. It's day 100, so I just want to do a little thank you. So thank you all. So I've got a poem by Gwendolyn Brooks. So I know I featured earlier, but I mean it's Gwendolyn Brooks, so let's have another poem from her, right? This poem, I feel like, again, like many of the poems I've selected, really speaks to this moment today that we're in. And it's a poem that one of the other poets I featured on here, Araceli Germay, just referenced and did some just referenced and wrote a beautiful essay that was related to the poem in the Paris Review, from woe to wonder. And I've linked that at the bottom of this post. I'd really recommend it, and also quote some of that essay because it's tremendous. But let's dive into Gwendolyn Brooks. So she actually read this poem as part of an event that was really talking about female poets and writers and how they're influenced by Emily Dickinson. And she shared this poem at that gathering or event. So I'm going to read a little bit about her intro to it because it really illuminates the poem. Gwendolyn Brooks says, "I want to read you a poem called The Near Johannesburg Boy. The titling of the poem is strategic. This boy can't live in Johannesburg. I decided to write this poem when I found myself hearing on TV that little black children in South Africa were meeting on the road and saying to each other, 'Have you been detained yet?' And I thought that was truly appalling, and it meant, I believe, that they are feeling now that being imprisoned is equivalent to playing ball or whatever games they have time for over there. So I decided to empathize with one of those young blacks, and I was really rewarded. But I don't know how some of you poets feel about being rewarded. It's not necessary. You don't have to be rewarded for writing a poem. But I was very pleased in a kind of grim way when I read this poem at the James Madison University, and a young fellow from South Africa said that his brother was imprisoned, waiting to be executed, and his father had been killed, and shortly after that, his mother had died. And he was quite tearful as he said to me about the boy in this poem, 'I am that boy.' So that was Gwendolyn Brooks's intro. Now let me read the poem. It's a persona poem. The Near Johannesburg Boy. My way is from woe to wonder. A black boy near Johannesburg, hot in the hot time. Those people do not like black among the colors. They do not like our calling our country ours. They say our country is not ours. Those people visiting the world as I visit the world. Those people, their bleach is puckered and cruel. It is work to speak of my father. My father. His body was whole till they stopped it. Suddenly, with a short shot, but before that physically tall and among us. He died every day, every moment. My father. First was the crumpling. No, first was the fist and the fury. Last was the crumpling. It is a little used rag that is under. It is not my father gone down. About my mother. My mother was this loud laugher below the sunshine, below the starlight at festival. My mother is still this loud laugher, still moving straight in the getting it done, as she names it. Oh, a strong eye is my mother, except when it seems we are lax in our looking. Well, enough of slump, enough of old story. Like a clean spear of fire, I am moving. I am not still. I am ready to be ready. I shall flail in the hot time. Tonight I walk with 100 of playmates to where the hurt black of our skin is forbidden. There in the dark that is our dark, there a pulse across earth that is our earth, there exulting, there redeeming, there roaring up, oh my Father. We shall forge with the fist and the fury. We shall flail in the hot time. We shall, we shall. That was Gwendolyn Brooks, right? And I said I wanted to reference a contemporary poet, Araceli Germay, who right now she just published this piece in the Parish Review. I was thinking about this poem, and the part of the poem that she is creatively reading, transformatively reading, I would say, is that section, the stanza that ends, "Those people visiting the world as I visit the world. Those people, their bleach is puckered and cruel." And in this essay, she talks about a Zoom call with, I think it's her 5-year-old son. And on the Zoom call, one of the other white children on the call is talking about why George Floyd was killed. And that this piece she connects to that Zoom call. She says, the poet Brooks begins to pull whiteness into the frame. And there's something here for us, I think. When a white person with a white child points to my child, even lovingly, as an example of a black life who matters, I would also like that person to teach their white child about white life and history and about how they are going to have to work really hard to make sure that they are not taking up more air, more space, more sidewalk because they have been taught wrongly that the world is more theirs. I would like to give my 5-year-old words so that when he is told, quote, George Floyd was killed because his skin was brown, he is able to say something like, well, actually, there is an idea called whiteness. Some people think that they are better and deserve more of everything because they are white and their ancestors are from Europe. Their ancestors hurt people and hurt the land to get the power that they gave to their children, and their children keep keeping and keep using to hurt. Even today, isn't that terrible? I want him to be able to say something like, those people visiting the world as I visit the world. Found that so beautiful, Araceli Germay. Um, and honestly, that that is such a transformative reading in itself and connecting in a way that I couldn't connect um, with her personal story. But I want to share just the thing that was really moving to me and I think challenging to me as a white reader of this poem is actually the opening line, and that's actually from that's the title of Araceli Germay's essay. My way is from woe to wonder. It's so striking to me that this persona, the young boy, is talking. Obviously, the woe is the death of his father by violence. But I think when I read this a couple of times, I was like, wonder. Wow, where's the wonder? And I think when I think of wonder, I think of like calm and quiet and contemplation. And the truth is, for this young boy, right, it's actually action, it's movement, right? And there's the possibility for wonder and defiance to coexist. And I think that's the beauty of the close of this poem, right? That starts with those lines, like a clean spear of fire. I am moving. I am not still. I am ready to be ready. And then he's walking with 100 of his playmates to where he and his classmates have been forbidden. And so for me, that's at the heart of this poem is the capacity for it to hold um, anger, defiance, and wonder together. Um, and I think as a white reader, it's the ability to appreciate that and also to sit in that challenge. I'm in awe of this poem as I am of Gwendolyn Brooks and her witness as a poet and as a person. So thank you, Gwendolyn Brooks, for this incredible poem. Thank you all for engaging with this over the last 100 days. Appreciate you.